Hello, how are you? I'm Matthew, host of Truth from the Booth on Folk Up Radio. Thanks for making space for me and my guest today. A quick visit to another part of the province for a conversation with Dee Fraser in Windsor, Nova Scotia. Dee's not talking about policy. Dee's talking about lived experience being unhoused. So, what does it actually look like when the housing crisis in Nova Scotia stops being a headline and starts tearing through a family? When safety, privacy, dignity, gone. Kids in the picture, doors closing, options shrinking. Dee has lived it, 18 months, unhoused and documenting every step. The apartment hunt, the job search, the climb back. Raw, unfiltered, online. Not for sympathy, but so people can see what this really cost. And we're getting into the moments most people never hear about. 10 minutes to grab your life and get out. Belongings lost due to flooding in your own living space. Couch surfing that splits a family apart. A tent, a child, and a season you don't forget. Triggers. What sticks with you after years on the edge? And how do you survive those moments when they hit? Dee addresses stigma, what it means to be a parent without a home, and why people look away. And we're not dodging the hard truths. Addiction, barriers to service, and the obstacles that keep people stuck even when they're trying to climb out. But through all of it, there's still hope, still support, still a voice. You'll hear Dee's voice in our uninterrupted conversation next on Folk Up Radio. Nova Scotia. Imagine opening your cupboard and there's nothing there. No cereal, no eggs, no dinner waiting. This is the reality for far too many. In March 2025 alone, over 43,000 of our neighbors walked into food banks across this province. That's up more than 10% from last year and nearly 70% since before the pandemic. And listen to this, 24% of people using food banks here are employed, the highest number on record. Work no longer guarantees food on the table. About 1 in 3 of those walking through those doors are children, hungry because prices for groceries, rent, heating, and life keep climbing while incomes stagnate. Nearly 30% of all Nova Scotians report some level of food insecurity, meaning they worry about whether they can eat every single day. This isn't just numbers on a chart. This is families skipping meals, seniors rationing bread, workers choosing bills over dinner. But it doesn't have to be this way. We deserve food security, we deserve dignity, and together we can demand a fairer future. Halifax, Nova Scotia, home of talk radio, Truth from the Booth, an ongoing awareness campaign keeping Canada's housing crisis on the front burner and in the moment right here in the Halifax Regional Municipality, the Maritimes, and beyond. True, real-life stories told by those living it, existing in the streets. They bear all and provide you a brief glimpse into an unimaginable world of misery and disappointment, resilience, and triumph. Hear from those with boots on the ground advocating for change now. The stories of the unhoused need to be told by them to educate you, all of us. Hear all the conversations Sundays at 10 a.m. with a repeat at 6 p.m. here on folkupradio.com. Now, back to today's fantastic guest. First of all, welcome to the broadcast. I appreciate this.
No worries.
I think it's important to share the stories of individuals who have experienced, whether they're experiencing it in the moment or it's from, months past. But we're here to pull back the curtains on Dee's life. So let's just start off by letting people know that you do have a full-time job. You are inside. But what we're going to do is we're just going to go back a little bit into the past. What has been this is why you're on this program, what has been your lived experience with the housing crisis in Nova Scotia? And what were some of the early signs, some of the circumstances that led to that first experience of you losing your home, your safety, privacy, dignity, and with kids?
Yeah, so my experience with the housing crisis has kind of been really personal to me because it wasn't just about losing a place. It was about, losing stability. It was about losing privacy and a sense of safety, especially me as a parent, a single parent. I think early on, the signs were the rise in costs. I was not able to find stable work at that time. And I didn't have a strong support system. My family, at the time, they did not want me living there at all. And they kind of made that known. But it just kind of stacked up quietly. It started out as a leaking pipe. And then I asked simple things to like maintenance, like, can you fix this? And then the mold, and then the mice, and then the bugs, and then my child got a chest infection. And before you know it, it was a normal day on October 22nd. I got up, as I do. I went to my job at Tim Hortons. My son went to pre-primary as normal. And then when I came home, there was 8 people, cars, cop cars, scrambling to put their lives in tent trailers and back of trucks and cars. And that was the moment I realized that I'm losing my home. And it happened within 1 hour. So when I went to go home, there was a notice, a cop standing in front of my door, and he basically said that you're no longer allowed to live here. He followed me around. I packed my things up. And I just kind of thought it was overwhelming, and I felt scared. But it could happen so quickly. And I think the warning signs were, the rise in costs, my unstable work, and not having really people to back me up in this. And it was a slow breakdown kind of security. It happened so quickly.
Is it fair to say that your personal support team is minimal in people?
Absolutely. I am not much of a, how can I say this? I would like to say that I don't have a lot of friends. It's never been like that for me. I'm the youngest of 4 children, but my siblings are 10 years apart from me.
Do you think you're a difficult person to get along with? Why do you think? I don't have a lot of friends here in Nova Scotia.
Being neurodivergent, like having ADHD, sometimes people may look at me a little bit differently, but at the same time, I just have to realize that those are not my people. So at the same time, I feel like ever since COVID, nobody wants to come over to people's houses for coffee anymore. Nobody wants to go for a walk anymore. No one's really, everything is online all the time. So maybe, that has a play or something to do with it, but I don't think I'm difficult to get along with. I just think that a lot of people are not really interested in personal friendships anymore as they were, back when I was growing up.
The phrase that you used, those are not my people. Who does Dee prefer to hang out with?
I want to hang out with people that have compassion for others, that have, a caring heart, and that are, able to back me up in times of need. And, I often give so much love and care to people, but it's not really reciprocated, and that is a tough feeling to overcome. Although, I would just love friends that were kind and caring and understood my passion for advocating for the unhoused or advocating for ADHD or things like that. I just feel like sometimes I don't share the same interest as other people, and that may, deter people away. And also that, I'm not gonna lie, I also, I speak my mind a lot. If it's in my mind, it comes out of my mouth, and a lot of people don't like that.
I want people to understand this is the first time we've been communicating back and forth through Messenger for the last few days. This is the first time we're having a conversation. I want people to, how does it make you feel to have a complete stranger, being me, the host of a talk radio, asking you to share your story? Like, do you find it easy in this moment to share, here, this is what's happening to me, this is what happened?
So basically I found you through Facebook, through Mariah Baker. Mariah Baker was doing a project back in the wintertime and on the unhoused, and I often felt like my story wasn't didn't have enough depth to be shared at times, but through Mariah's encouragement, she encouraged me to reach out to you and told me that my story is worth sharing. There's many types of homelessness, and being a parent, that I should speak up. And so with her, inspiration, I really decided to reach out to you. I started to look into your stuff, Matt, and I first and foremost want to say thank you so much for all the advocating you do for the unhoused, all you do for the unhoused, because at the end of the day, we're just people, and everyone is one paycheck away from losing it all. I kind of found you through Mariah, and she encouraged me to really speak up. And then I found you and checked out your channel, and I checked out Lindsay's interview there, and all of a sudden I felt like I belonged somewhere. Like, these people knew what I was going through. I felt like, oh my God, they understand. Lindsay talked a lot about just the after effects of being homeless. A lot of the time, like, I can't pass a man with a sign. I have to talk to them. I want to talk to them. I want to look them in the eyes and make them feel human, because I know what it's like not to feel like a person. So I guess, yeah, just through Mariah bring me to you, and now I'm here talking to you, and I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah, so am I, and so are the individuals in 162 countries around the world. I have my live streaming in the moment. You've been documenting stuff, so I just want to quickly talk about, because you documented everything that was happening in those 18 months, the hunt for an apartment, finding a job, getting back on your feet. What message were you putting out there to individuals during that time? What were you telling them in those videos as you were in your search, in your journey?
I wanted to spread the message of hope. I was determined to let people know that just because you landed on hard times, this is not your whole story. It is one chapter in your book, and you can rise above. It doesn't matter, where you're from or your background. You can rise above, and you too can get a job. You too can get this apartment. You too can connect with a housing worker. That's how this really all started. Is I got connected with a housing worker here at the Family Resource Center here in Windsor, Nova Scotia, and that's when things started to happen. But it was a long, hard road. But ultimately, I wanted people to know through my videos. The message was, stay strong, because you can move along. You just got to stay strong, and you too can have this. With a little bit of hard work and dedication, you too can have the things that you've desired in your life, because housing is a right. It is not a privilege. It is a right. And I feel like people, I also have a hard time connecting with people that are have always been housed, because I am so grateful to charge my phone in my space, in my wall. I am so grateful to turn on the lights in my apartment, and the water, the clean water. And those are little tiny things that people take for granted, Matt. And I just really feel like the people that have never lived this are really ungrateful. And I had a really hard time with that. Like, why aren't you grateful that your beautiful house and your car and your lovely family, you know what I mean? And so I just wanted to spread that if I can do it, the message of I can do it, you can do it, and we are going to get through this. And ultimately, a girl on TikTok who was in the United States messaged me. She was in Mississauga. Said that, I watched your videos. I'm actually in the tent right now. I've got a little bit of a Wi-Fi connection, but I actually watch your videos. I bawled because that's what I was trying to do. I wanted to let the mom that was stuck in the tent, that with a little bit of Wi-Fi that she had, to know that she too can get out of the tent, and she too can get connected with resources, and she too can rise above. So that's kind of my message, is to we can do this together. We're in this together, and we can rise above all of the hate and all of the things against us.
Absolutely.
Mostly.
Yeah. No, Dee, that's just perfect. I think if I had a panel, which someday I'd love to put a panel together, have an open house, I think the most important people up on the panel are not the politicians or the professionals, but people who have actually lived it. People actually need to hear The message that you're saying today is just fantastic. That's why I do this show. That's why I have people like yourself on this program. So again, I appreciate it. And just getting back to the advocacy work that I've been doing here for like the last 4.5 years, lots of triggers for me. And without getting into anything specific, I don't want you to talk about things that, set you off. But during that 18 months, are there still triggers for you today?
Absolutely not. So certain things set me off, like seeing tense people struggling outside, or even conversations that minimize the unhoused. Like, it brings up a lot of when I was triggered, I tried to ground myself, remind myself that I am safe now, because I have extreme PTSD, and for about, I don't know, it took about a year. I've shared a video where I'm taking cloths out. It hit me at the random. I was folding my own clothes, and I hadn't really had my own clothes and my own towels, and I just started to bawl, because I thought, oh my God, here I am, I'm housed, I did it, me. And then it sinks in. What about the people that I left behind? What about the person I met in the Family Resource Center that is just looking to house her 2 children? What about her, and how is she doing? So I just think when it comes to triggers, it's sometimes I step away, and sometimes I talk about it, and sometimes I let myself feel without pushing it all down. But I think it's important to remember that it's one paycheck away. Everyone's one paycheck away, man. Everyone can go homeless. It's not, it can happen to you too. So I think the trigger part is just, especially when people like online, I really got to hold myself back. When they talk about homeless people like they're garbage, we're humans, we're people. And I just want to say to you, like, this can happen to you. If you think that this can't happen to you, what if you had a fire in your house? What if you couldn't pay your rent? What if you've lost your job? Those are things that could contribute to homelessness. And it really triggers me when people, say, oh, just go get a job. And when they don't realize that to have a job, Matt, you must have a stable place, because it is work to go to work. And I don't think that people will throw, you need to go get a job. Well, I was in a rural area with 2 small children, and I did not have a license. My mom doesn't have a license, and my dad was at work all day. So I couldn't go get a job. And I just really feel like people, if at most, when you walk by somebody that is holding a sign, can you look them in the eye and treat them like a human being, at least? Not like a piece of garbage. So I think the things that set me off were like the tents, people sleeping, like summer's coming up, it's going to get so hot. You know what I mean? If I had a car, I would literally go and pass out care packages with things that may keep them hungry or cool, or keep them fed and not hungry. But I think, back to what triggers me is just people minimizing other people's experiences, and also thinking that we're all on substances, because not everyone that experiences homelessness is on a substance. Sometimes we just hit a really bad time in our lives, and I just want people to, like I keep saying, it can happen to you at any time.
Most of the guests that I have on here, when they're describing their life, my heart's just racing. So I really hope this is hitting home to the people that are listening, wherever you are listening today. But you made reference to just this overwhelming feeling of joy, just folding laundry. So can you take us to the other extreme, and in whatever detail you want, tell us about the feelings that go through you when those same belongings are destroyed in a flood?
It honestly, I'm not gonna lie, makes me teary-eyed to think back, because I woke that day. I went to work. I had found a job at the local Tim Hortons in Mount Uniacke, Nova Scotia. I felt proud that day to get up, to put on my uniform, and to finally contribute to the household. Yet I was on assistance, but the people that I was staying with I received $400. And that is all That is all that they took all of that. So when I felt really proud to go get myself a job and to maybe earn a little bit of more money to contribute to the household. But when I arrived that day, not only did I lose my job because they didn't think I was the right fit, but I walked into a flood and I was grasping. It felt like my heart was pounding. I was sweating. I was, my son was upstairs, and he was asleep at the time. And also my daughter was upstairs as well with my mom. But the feeling of, I just got a job, yay, and then, oh, by the way, you're going to have, like, sorry, like, psych, your belongings are all gone. And also, when I moved from Windsor, we call it here the old hospital in Windsor, I didn't have very much stuff to begin with. So a lot of the stuff, I had to leave all of my coaches, all of everything, my coaches, my chairs, my TV, everything. That it had mold and bugs, and it was disgusting because the building was not fit to live in. But that day, Matt, when I walked in and the water was rushing, my heart started to rush. And then I came to a realization that for the third time, I was going to have to rebuild my life, not only my life, but my kids' lives. And I was sweating, and my hands began to get clammy, and then I started to get a bag and start to put shoes and whatever I could as the water was rushing past me. It was, it didn't smell that great, but I didn't care because I had to. For me, it was like collecting the last little bits of my life and putting them into a garbage bag because that is all I had to hold on to. And I think that's what people need to realize, is that some people don't have what you have, and people need to be not so hateful. They need to be grateful for what they have, because there's people shoving their lives into a garbage bag in 8 minutes. So the feeling of overwhelm, the feeling of anxiety rushing over me, my heart pounding, my palms sweating, and I'm drenched, and just the feeling of overwhelm because I had to rebuild my life again.
When you lose all your belongings, when your living space is destroyed, and an option for whatever length of time is couch surfing, how does couch surfing, how does a situation like that divide a family?
So basically, I had been dating my boyfriend at that time for 5 years. So, I was able to stay with him at his parents' place, but ultimately, again, they didn't really want us there. But that moment was chaos. It wasn't 10 minutes isn't enough to gather your life. You're not thinking clearly. You're just grabbing like what you can and hoping you didn't leave something important behind. But I think it divided me because, me and my parents' relationship went down the drain. We didn't have a relationship. We stopped talking. It really drained my relationship with my boyfriend. It separated us. So a lot of the times he was, staying where he could, or staying with his parents, but his parents didn't want me there. So then I was staying in Matt Uniac with no transportation. We had to switch schools several times, which was difficult for my son. It started in pre-primary. He's now in grade 2, but it divided us. We had to, and couch surfing, like I say, like I was lucky enough to be able to stay with my parents for, almost a year or 6 months at a time. And then I stayed with a close friend as well. I was lucky enough to have that little bit of connection, but at the same time, it is not the same. And I couldn't create a routine for my son because every time I tried, we were packing up and moving to the next place. And it was very, very difficult.
In those 18 months that you were unhoused, couch surfing here, did you spend any time in a tent? And if so, what time of year was that? And what was your experience like?
Okay, so I was fortunate enough to, what happened is the person said I could stay on their lawn, but if I were to come in the house that I would need to pay to stay. So I gathered up enough money to rent the room for the month and get off the lawn. But ultimately, at the end, they had one of their family members come home from out west, and they needed the room back. So they actually turned into an argument. But they actually asked me at 9:30 at night to pack my bags. This was 2 weeks before Christmas. 2 weeks before Christmas, to pack my bags and to find somewhere else to go. So, again, we were in the business. The car was packed, and this time my boyfriend had to come with us because he did not agree with the people and how they were treating me. So he lost his home too in the process of all of this. So it not only affects, it didn't affect me, it affected my kids. It affected my mom's relationship between us. It affected my relationship. It affected my my son's routine, his daily routine. And even though I tried really hard not for him to feel the effects, I'm sure there were days that he did, which I kind of beat myself up about a lot.
In your experience, and again, thank you for just being so open and sharing, again, not here to pry. Everything we're talking about, you put up in your own social media. So again, I just appreciate your time, Dee. How would you, you mentioned you have kids, you do lots of videos. How would you like to address the stigma of being a parent and unhoused?
Yeah, I know though, Matt, my kids were really young at the time, and that made it even harder. They didn't fully understand what was happening, but they felt at times the instability, because it did, they did separate us at times, but I did everything in my absolute power. You can actually go back in my videos to make it feel normal. So if we were staying somewhere for 5 months, I would try to create whatever opportunity. And at my parents' house in Mount Uniacke, there absolutely was no way out. I was literally stuck. If I needed to go get groceries, too bad. If I needed to go to the doctor, too bad. I couldn't go to the doctors. The simple things that people do, go to the store to get bread, couldn't do that. I always had to rely on somebody, so that really made it difficult. But I tried to make it as normal as possible, and it really hit home when my son said, you're the best mommy. He said, you're a strong mommy because you did whatever. He goes, I always had clothes, I always had toys, and so although I beat myself up constantly about that, I just think parents need to understand that this happens to people. You're not a bad parent because on an unfortunate event like a flood happened. That's not your fault. But I think we need to end the stigma. Parents don't want to speak up because they're in fear of losing their child or somebody calling CPS on them. We need to stop doing that. We need to look at the mother and say, what can we do to help, and gather around her and support her, not push her away, because oftentimes what happens is people lose their children because of a situation like this, and they might then turn to substances because they don't know what to do anymore because they have fought and fought and fought. So we need to stop and get to the bottom, and we need to find a solution. Maybe some mental health supports for the mother or even a child. But we need to support, gather around, and love this person, because ultimately, at the end of the day, nobody asked to go homeless. And I just think that we need more supports, and we need to stop assuming that this parent is, on a substance and that's why they lost their home. It can happen to anybody at any given time. And I just think that's really, really important to understand. And yeah, all we need is love, Matt. We need to gather around. We need to support this person. I was judged so many times. Like, look at her. She's probably on this, that, or the other thing. And I was like, no, I had a flood. So you don't know what anyone's dealing with at any given time. So I just feel like we need to have more resources, more support. And if I could create a place where that single mothers could go to get stuff and resources and mental health, I definitely would, because I think it is so important.
You talk like you've had this conversation 1,000 times. You're just so insightful, informative, and just bringing awareness is just fantastic. I want to close it out with this. I don't want to take up too much of your time. Then this is no secret. I let people know that this is being recorded on a Saturday afternoon and airing on the this 26th day of April. I think it's fair to say that you post a lot of short videos. Is it Instagram or TikTok? What's your favorite medium to go to post videos?
I like mostly TikTok. I have a large following on there, and if you guys want to go follow at D Does Life on TikTok, that would be amazing. I do make funny videos, but I also really like to advocate for mental health and the unhoused, especially bring awareness to ADHD and things like that. So mostly TikTok.
Okay, TikTok. I'm glad. So it's a creative outlet for you. You do it for fun. You also do it for educational purposes. I just wanted to touch because everyone in this family believes I'm borderline ADHD. I did the testing. I spoke with the professionals, but I haven't been diagnosed. Why is it important for you to bring awareness for the ADHD community?
So ADHD has definitely played a role in my life, Matt, and especially with organization, memory, and managing stress. And when everything around you is unstable, sometimes those challenges can feel amplified, and it's something that I'm learning to navigate. Now, I am 35 years old. I just got diagnosed last year. So I went through my whole life feeling different and feeling like, I don't know how to explain it, feeling different, not feeling like I really fit into the box of anything. I've always had troubles in school and troubles with in my work, but I feel like I just feel like bringing awareness of that. I want people to know that ADHD is not just squirrel. It is so much more. It can affect your mental health, your personal relationships, your finances, and so documenting that along, showing people those things. I hope to bring awareness that it stands for attention deficit disorder, but ADHD is not. It's a dopamine disorder because unfortunately a lot of us, we don't have that happy chemical in our brain. We were not born with that. So our brains do work really, really different, but our brains are beautiful and they are capable of so many wonderful things.
Absolutely. So when you want to take your beautiful brain and unplug from technology, where do you go? Where's your favorite nature location? Where do you spend a nice, beautiful day in Nova Scotia, D?
So I've had this lake called Lewis Lake. It's my happy place. It's my childhood lake, I call it. It's just down the road from my parents' house in Uniacke, Nova Scotia. I love to go there. And I still know all the people. It's just they're a little older now. And it's really, I just sit there and it's a beautiful lake and there's a beautiful blue sky and there's birds chirping. And that is my happy place because that is where I can also almost close my eyes and hear my best friend, Lindsay, laughing with me. And I can look over across the street, I babysat at that house and those kids are now growing. And it's just like a sense of community and it's calm, it's peaceful. And another thing I like to do is spend time with my son outdoors. He's a busy little guy. He's 8 years old. His name is Lincoln. And Lincoln loves to go biking, scootering, and I love playing soccer or basketball with him as well. And spending time with my daughter, my 14-year-old daughter, Destiny, going outside. She likes to go for a walk, like nature walks. So I love to do those things, Matt. But I also love me a good old bike ride. I love biking through my little town and stopping at the local shops to see what the local bakery is cooking or baking up, or just see what's going on within the town. But I think that's one thing I would recommend is there's a sense of, if you're in this situation, I always tell people there's a sense of, you got to grab a sense of normalcy. So I post a lot about, I journaled. I had to find a normalcy in my really chaotic situation. So I would get up and I would say, I don't want to get up, but I would make myself go for a walk, or if you have the means to get in the shower, if you have the means to, just try to, perk yourself up, go for a walk, because nature, vitamin D is literally a natural antidepressant. So my thing is grab onto any normality that you possibly can and run with it, because that grounded me and made me feel whole.
Wise words, and I certainly appreciate you taking the time out of your day to do this. Dee Fraser, Windsor, Nova Scotia. Again, just thank you so much. You're just a part of a much larger picture. I'm coming up on a 2-year anniversary with this talk radio. So I know people listening in different countries around the world, I know they can relate to the story that you just told, and I just thank you for being so open, being so honest, and just telling your story with my friends here on Truth from the Booth. Thank you, Dee.
Absolutely, and I just want to end this off with, if anybody is experiencing this kind of thing, you can get out. I have faith in you. You can do it, and I'm wishing everyone the best, and I hope everyone has a great day.
And now for something completely different. The forecast for May in Nova Scotia. On paper, it looks like relief. In reality, it's a different kind of fight. Average daytime highs climb into the low teens, around 13 to 15 degrees, with nights still dropping to 4 or 5. That's not warm, that's damp. Bone-chilling cold when you've got nowhere dry to go. Rain shows up nearly half the month, roughly 14 to 19 days with precipitation, and about a 30 to 40% chance of wet weather on any given day. Not heavy storms, just steady, soaking rain that doesn't make headlines, but soaks everything you own. Humidity hovers high, over 80%, with ocean air and fog rolling in, especially along the coast. So even when it's not raining, nothing really dries. And while daylight stretches past 15 hours by the end of the month, longer days don't mean safer nights. For people living outside, May isn't a fresh start, it's exposure season. Tents flood, sleeping bags stay wet, mild temperatures mask the risk of hypothermia, infection, and exhaustion. Winter freezes you. May wears you down. That's the reality behind the forecast. I'm Matthew. Let's get you back to the music on Canada's #1 folk station, 99.9 FM Perth Andover, and folkedupradio.com.